Figma just told you to upgrade to use variables in dark mode. Don't do it. I am going to show you how to build a fully working light and dark mode switch in Figma completely for free, and it looks just as professional. Let's build it right now. So the first thing we are going to do is to build the color styles. All right, so I'll pick a rectangle here, then I'll go to my right panel and change that to white. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the plus sign here, and then I'll click on the plus sign here, and then I'll go to style here. And so this is going to be my background, so I'll name it background lights, and then I'll create a style. So I realize that it's not too white, and so I need to edit that and remove this black from here. So the next thing is to duplicate this. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is that I'm going to detach the style here and then change the color here to F4, F4, F4. All right, so I'm going to add this also as a new style. All right, so this is basically going to be for the card. All right, so that's going to be for the card lights this way. So I'm going to create a style. So you realize that we have to remove that as well. So I'm going to repeat the same procedure for this. Okay, so duplicate, detach, and then I'm going to change the color here to this. So I'll go back to the right panel here, click on the plus sign, and then also add this style here. So this is going to be for the text. Okay, so let's make it the primary text light. Okay, so like this. Let's go back and do that. So primary text light. So I'm going to create the style. Okay, so I also need to just remove this from here. Okay, so let's proceed. So I'm going to duplicate this again and detach the style. All right, then I'm going to make this the main or the accent color. So let's have 60, 63, and then FF. Okay, so let's have this. Okay, so I'm going to go back here to add this style as well, the same procedure we use. So let's make this the main. So this is going to be for both the light theme and the dark theme. So I'm just going to leave it this way, create style. Okay, so I'll go back and then remove this black from here. All right, so the next thing is to get the dark mode color. So I'll duplicate this, bring it here, and detach the style. So here I'm going to make it 0D, 0D. Okay, so this way, and I'm going to create the color style using the same procedure for this. So with the style here, I'm going to name it background dark. So remember we named the other one background light, so I'm going to create a style here. Okay, so let me still remove that black from here. Okay, so I'm going to duplicate this again this way, and I'm going to detach the style and change this here to 1A, 1A, 2E. All right, so this way, and then I'm going to create the style here. Okay, so this is going to be for the card on the dark mode. So card dark this way, then I'm going to create the style. Okay, so I want to remove this dark from here this way. Okay, so I'm going to do the same duplication again, and this time around I'm going to change the color to FFF. That is going to be white. Okay, so the text here is going to be white for the dark mode. So I'm going to add the style this way. All right, so this is the primary text. Dark. Okay, so I'm going to create this and just remove this from here. Okay, so let me duplicate it and get the last color. Okay, all right, so the last color is going to be for the main, which is going to be on both the light and the dark, so we don't need to duplicate that since it's going to be the same thing. So you realize that we've gotten our color style set up. All right, so what I'm going to do here is going to build a simple light theme music player UI in order to demonstrate the light and the dark mode. So I'm going to take a frame here, iPhone 14 and 15 Pro. Okay, so already I have some icons and some components here, so I'm just going to use them. Okay, so let me just move this here so that I'll have space. Okay, so anytime I'm designing, I try to have a preview of what I'm doing, so I'm going to have it this way. Okay, so I'm going to bring in the components I have here. So this is for the status bar, so I'm going to have it here and make sure it is aligned to the center this way. Okay, so the next thing I want to have for my music player is the left icon here, which you have to send us to the back, so this way. So let me just add a layout guide in order to guide the design. All right, so the alignment and everything will be okay. So let me make the margin 24 and leave the count on 5 and the gutter on 20 this way. Okay, so this is looking okay. So the next thing, I want to bring the more button here, or the icon here. Okay, so I'm going to put these two together and then add an auto layout. Okay, so this way. So the next thing for this design, I want to add this card showing the one who is singing the song and then the duration of the music, where it has gotten to. So I'm just going to center this way. Okay, push it to the top a little bit this way. Okay, so remember, this is not the color we are using. So after I'm done with everything, I'm going to apply the color styles to the whole design. All right, so then the next thing I'm going to do is to get a name for this. Okay, so let's say, for example, the name of the person is Jane. Okay, so something like this, this way, or let's say Jenny. All right, so let me use enter and have this on medium, and then I'll increase the font size to let's say this. Okay, so let me make it caps rather this way. Okay, all right, let me make it caps rather. All right, so I'm going to duplicate this, okay, and get the name of the music playing. So let's say we have something like solo this way, and then let me make it bold, or let me bold it this way. All right, and then I'll increase the font size since it is the name of the music playing. Okay, so something like this. and then I think I have to reduce the font size of this and make it 16. So I'm going to put these two together by applying an auto layout to these two. Okay, and then also reduce the size between these two. All right. Okay, so let's make this to be well aligned. I think it's not well aligned. Now it's now okay. Now I want to start applying the colors so that everything will be consistent. So I'm just going to click on this. I'm going to start from the status bar. I'm just going to click on it, and then I'll click on this style. So I'll go to the styles that I just built here, and then I'm going to start with the text. Okay, so I'm going to make the status bar primary text light. Okay, and then when it comes to this also, I'm going to also add the same color style, primary text lights. Okay, so this way, and then select the whole frame, and then the background, I'm going to add background light to it this way. Okay, then when we come here with this, it has to be the accent color, so that's what I'm going to add to it, or the main. Okay, so I'm going to add it to it this way, as you can see. And then the background here also, I'm going to add a background light, and this color I'm going to make it let's make it okay, so let's make it the card lights. Okay, something this way. Now the name of the music here, I'm going to make it the main. Okay, and then the text here, I'm just going to make it the primary text light, so this way. Okay, now I'm going to bring a circle so that I'll put the play icon in it. All right, so I'm going to make this 80 by 80. Okay, so 80 by 80, and then the fill, I'm going to apply the main to it. Okay, all right, so we take this and then shift A. All right, I'm going to make sure it is well aligned. Okay, so this looks perfect now. All right, so I'm going to also add some icons to the button here. Okay, so you can be able to undo or replay a particular song. So let's just center it here and change the color to one of the color style, which is the primary text light. Okay, so I'm going to add also the home indicator here at the bottom here. Let's just center it and make sure everything looks perfect. Okay, this way. So that color also there, I need to change it and make it primary text light. Okay, so this way, here we have it, a simple music player UI. So I'm going to add an auto layout to everything I have here. I want an equal spacing between the two. Okay, so between everything here, so as we can see, I just added an auto layout and there's equal spacing between everything here. Okay, I guess this looks perfect. Okay, so the next thing we are going to do here is to try to create the dark mode. So what I'm going to do here is to duplicate. So Control D. All right, so duplicate the frame as we have here. So we are going to go back to the color styles and then change everything. All right, so when I click here, I'm just going to selection colors. Okay. All right, so all the colors on this frame. So with this, we know that's the primary text light, so I'm going to make it primary text dark this way. Okay, so before then, let me try and change this, the background to background dark this way. Okay, so you can see that I have been able to change everything from light mode to dark mode in just few seconds. It depends on the design you are doing. If your design is kind of complex, that would maybe take some minutes, but it wouldn't take long for you to finish that. Okay, so I guess we have to change this. We haven't changed for this background light. Okay, background dark. Yeah, I guess we have to do this change here. Okay, so for the card dark. Okay, yeah, so this is it. And yeah, so I guess everything here has been done. So you can see how beautiful it is to do the transition. So basically you can just select your frame, then you come to all the colors here, and then you do the changes here. Within some seconds or minutes, you would have made your transition from the light mode to the dark mode, and everything looks perfectly and beautiful. Now I want to prototype this so that I'll add a switch where we can just move from the light mode to the dark mode very easily. Okay, so let's try and do that. Okay, so just a toggle switch, a simple toggle switch. So I'm going to pick this. Okay, so let's pick this, something small. So let's make it 25 by 25. Okay, and I'm going to apply the color style to this background light. Okay, so let me pick a rectangle here. So have a simple rectangle and change the corner radius to 999. Okay, so I'm going to change the color style here to, let's change this to primary text light. Okay, so this way, and we just put this on top here, so we bring it to the front. Okay, this way. Okay, so something like this. Shift A, put everything together. Okay, all right, so this is basically going to be on the light mode. Okay, to indicate that let's reduce this to indicate that you are on the light mode. Then if you want to switch to the dark mode, then you also do the switching. So I want us to bring it somewhere here, for the purpose of this tutorial. Let's put it somewhere here. So I'm going to just duplicate this. Okay, and then I'll bring going to duplicate this, and then I'll bring the circle to the other side, so this way. Okay, let's make sure the length is the same, so 56. All right, So here for the fill, I'm going to change it to primary text dark, and then I'm going to change this to the primary text light. Okay, so it indicates that you can just change it to the light mode. So here let's see the distance. So we make sure they are all at the same distance. So basically something like this. Okay, so that we can do the switching. So let's try and prototype this. So I'm going to go to prototype here, then hold this and then send it to this, and then on tap, and I'll change it to Smart Animate and leave it at 300 ms. So I'm going to go to also this and then send it to the light mode and then leave it on Smart Animate and then also ease out that way. Okay, so basically like this. Now let's try and see. So you realize that if I click on the button, I'm able to switch between light mode and dark mode instantly like this. All right, so now you can build dark mode for free, no upgrade needed. If this saves you money, subscribe, because every tutorial I make is built around what actually works on the free plan. See you in the next one. Bye.